Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel 100 Ideas. The design of the infield is a creative work that allows you to enjoy both the decorating process and the result obtained. Even if there is a small space next to the house, it can be harmoniously decorated, made a bright accent and its own property. If you combine plants and design elements correctly, you will be able to get a beautiful space. Before arranging a beautiful and elegant courtyard, several important factors should be taken into account. The size of the plot. This is the main point before choosing a design. It will be unrealistic to reproduce certain compositions in small gardens and vice versa. Miniature flower beds can get lost in large-scale territories. Time costs. Based on what period the owner plans to take care of plants, the choice of the type and number of flowers depends. You should also understand how much time you have to make design decisions. Material expenses. To create a beautiful courtyard in front of the house, it is necessary to allocate certain financial resources for the purchase of flowers, supplies for decoration. Perhaps you choose an option in which you can decorate the plot in front of the house only from improvised means and with your own hands. Seasonality. When living in a house all year round, you need to understand that the design should be designed so that the courtyard looks beautiful both in summer and in winter. When choosing garden crops, it is important to take into account the amount of light on the territory. For the southern and northern sides, it will be necessary to select different garden crops to provide them with comfortable conditions for growing. How do you look these awesome ideas? We would love to hear from you. Ideas for delineating zones. There are various ways to delineate zones on the side. The arch will help to give the yard an elegant, luxurious look, especially if you plant weaving plants with beautiful flowers next to it, which will enable to arched structure. Most often, an arch delimits the main space and the recreation area or playground. Green fences made of small shrubs and flowers are a great way to delimit any zones on the side. A low, brightly colored fence, or fence along which plants with flowers will weave, you can protect a children's play area or a vegetable garden. Screens made of bamboo or woven from vines will be an excellent protection from droughts and will create shade in the summer heat. Landscaping is currently a promising area that allows you to introduce fashion trends in the design of suburban areas. In order for the appearance of the garden plot to become unique, designers come up with a variety of ways to decorate it. Gabions are often used to highlight accents. Some do not even know what it is, since these elements began to be produced relatively recently. First of all, it is worth figuring out what gabions are and how they are created. This is the name or the similarity of containers made of metal wire. Depending on the desired effect, they are filled with larger or smaller stones. Previously, they were used as defensive structures on the battlefields. Now they are often used to fortify coasts or use them as retaining structures. But most often gabions are used preciously as objects that decorate the landscape of suburban area. Especially among others, those products stand out that have a laconic form, since they stand out against the general background and favorably emphasize the style of the local area. Gabions can be made in various shapes. Recently, spherical models have become the most popular on the garden plots. As a rule, gabions are not made independently, but bought ready-made, but if you wish and have everything you need, you can try to make them yourself. The use of gabion on garden plots is now very common, not only because it is a fashionable trend, but also due to a certain list of advantages. The ability to create from the mesh products of various shapes and appearance, which will emphasize the appearance of the garden plot and give it originality. Elimination of destruction of the structure during natural movements of the soil of the garden plot. Simplicity of the device and no need to create a drainage system. This is because the stones that are placed inside the mesh make the structure virtually waterproof. Installation of the garden plot does not require heavy equipment, so the surrounding landscape will not be disturbed. Long service life. With proper installation, the structures will not have to be restored. Minimal care. Cost savings in contrast to the supply of the garden plot with reinforced concrete structures. Depending on the material used, which is laid inside gabions, can also be divided into groups. So, in addition to the usual stone brick fragments, large pebbles, glass, wood chips, and other relevant materials can serve as filling. The stones are selected depending on the purpose for which the gabion serves on the garden plot. So, when decorating a suburban area, stones of any size can be used. Only stones that are larger than the mesh cells are suitable for any use. This will prevent them from scattering. Both natural and artificial boulders are suitable for decoration. The most commonly used are quartz and granite. Sandstone is also suitable, as well as all those materials that are resistant to external influences with constant presence on the street. In order to understand how to position the gabion in the landscape so that it gives the garden plot a touch of originality and becomes the main focus, it is worth considering some of the ideas proposed by landscape designers for using gabions. Gabion in the form of a curb or a parapet. This option is perfect for framing a path, flower bed, recreation area, or other objects within the garden plot. Decorative labyrinth from a gabion look interesting, which will definitely not leave the garden unattended. If it is not planned to make a continuous fence made of gabion on the garden plot, then wood piles can be laid out between its sections, thereby diluting the cold decoration with warm wood. If the garden plot has a pond, then you can lay out its banks with gabions. You will get not only an up-to-date and fashionable design, but also a base that will give additional protection against the crumbling of the coast. At the same time, One should not be afraid that the shores of the reservoir will turn into lifeless stone feeders. Vegetation can grow near and even on the very structure of the mesh with stones. Portable gabions in the form of pots or massive flower pots, which are decorated with flowering plants, look very unusual. They are easy to use and can be delivered anywhere on the garden plot. For a more fabulous design, artificial lighting of such gabions is often created. Often a wooden bench is installed in the lower part so that you can admire the beauty of your garden plot. Plants are planted at the top, which complement the composition. Terraces are made with long walls, and it is interesting to create a multi-level effect. Thanks to the mesh gabion, you can stylishly decorate the entrance group or make a transition between different zones of the garden plot. At the same time, the gabion itself is well combined with brickwork, paving stones, forged railings. For example, the retaining sides or the stairs are made of gabion, and the steps themselves are made of tiles. Only leather gabions can be used. Another interesting direction is the creation of garden furniture from box gabions. The costs of such furnishing of the garden plot are minimal, but the appearance is very nice. Such furniture will undoubtedly impress the guests of the garden plot. The best front yard landscaping ideas can unleash the beauty of your block and transform it into a stunning front lawn. There are endless ideas to give it a touch or perfection and lend it its character. You can play with vegetation, structures or water features to match your style and home's environment. With the perfect yard, you can create your relaxing heaven and leave your guests in every time. With our funniest front yard landscaping ideas, patio designing should never be a daunting chore. So here are our stunning ideas for updating your block into a picture-worthy front lawn. A garden full of blooms and velvety green grass has that beauty that exudes a welcoming and almost sentimental feel. Design your front yard with a mix of perennial flowers and shrubs with interacting hues. It will ensure year-long focal interest and wrap your yard with carpets of color comes the vibrant days of spring. To avoid the cluttered look, you can plant flowers in a cluster of colors. It will prevent the overcrowding and claustrophobic feel within your flower beds. Bird baths, fountains, gazebos, they are the customary front-yard landscaping ideas for most traditional homes. But if you want some low-maintained garden structures, then go light with some Art Deco statues. The classical first cast stone structure, for example, will add an interesting depth and accent to your lawn, surrounding it with well-maintained hatches and attain that old-fashioned look that graced the rustic villas in its heyday. The minimalist and simplistic approach is the new trend of modern front yard landscaping ideas. Most homeowners ditch the flowers and grasses and embrace the idea of wide driveways and pavements. Concrete patios can either offer more space to small yards or emphasize the vastness of wide ones. English courtyards are notable for their combination of privacy and home lines. Think about lazing around for a barbecue night in this homey little space by your front door. The cobblestone and brick floors will give your place some vintage feel while offering more depth and texture. You can also add some greenery through trestles or draperies and pastel-colored flowering plants. Pots, jars, and decorative pieces will complete the look and enhance its rustic appeal. Rocks and pebbles are among the popular and trendy front yard landscaping ideas. These materials will likely bring out the rugged, aesthetic appeal of your property. It only takes proper placement and layering to achieve that natural beauty that adds depth and dimension to your yard. Most designers choose the powerful contrast between the decorative white river pebbles and dark-hued pear gravels to create stunning garden schemes. Whether you border it with bricks or put it adjacent to grass, they are still versatile and standout features worth trying. Another interesting way of adding elegance and function into your facade is by installing a decorative lamp post. Exterior lights do not only provide aesthetic and curb appeal while illuminating your pathway, but they are also partial to warding off potential intruders. Choose lamps that can resist temperature changes and emit light that does not draw too much attention to your property. Adding a flower bed by your lamp post will also help it blend dramatically into your front yard. Solar torches are beautiful, convenient, and low-maintenance garden ensembles that will complete any yard design. These lights usually have motion sensors and photosensors that will sensibly power themselves on and off. But most of them are also for decorative purposes and thus not as bright as the overhead pathway lights. Solar lights convey a romantic and sensual effect whether on a tidy lawn or a blooming garden. Flowers are pretty, and who doesn't love the idea of having these by the windowsills and courtyards? If you have an expansive front yard, displaying blooming colors in trellises is one bold idea. Arching trellises will give your yard a formal and flowy look to lend your home a whimsical appeal. Pair it with surrounding picket fences and litter it with more flowers to recreate a modern and formal English courtyard. Want that unique landscape that will bask your front yard with color comes the spring season? Then give the test decorative hedge plants and let them do the job. You can choose from evergreen hedges that retain their foliage throughout the year or deciduous ones that shed their leaves in autumn. The best thing about hedge plants is that you can trim them the way that you want them. Say no more with these blooming red azaleas that give this house an interesting charm. Top it up with a white Dodge tree and line the pathway with lavender and berinjela. What more can you ask for? In most front yard landscaping ideas, a pond is a focal point that designers do not miss on including in a plan. Water features can transform yards into elegant and serene spaces with a dose of stunning appeal. For example, this unpretentious pond complements this facade with its natural look. The vegetation in the water gives it an almost natural and wild look while maintaining its sleek simplicity. Exterior stairs and landings are a popular obsession for adding a profound charm to any home. Homes that are elevated from the ground make use of these landscaping ideas to give them a stunning profile, the gorgeous mid-century modern architecture of this. Retain the organic features of your front yard with natural shades. The use of trees, whether decorative or fruit-bearing, are still a popular trend for homes today. They do not only make your space welcoming and refreshing, they also add value to your property and cools down the entire place while maintaining a humble countryside charm. Like stairs, bridges are also gaining fame in most front yard landscaping ideas. Basically, they're incorporated into the design as a functional crossing, but even without water features, you can still use them to add a whimsical dimension to your front yard. Bridges, which are mostly made of wood, outlines the garden with a soft and graceful charm. They are perfection that will blend with most front yard designs. We hope this video was useful to you. Like it, write your comments and subscribe to our channel.